Quiet on the set.
Camera speed.
Sound production.
Roll sound.
Rolling.
Sound production. Take 2.
Welcome to the I Remember Liking That Movie podcast. Remember those childhood movies you loved? Now, we're going to watch them again and find out if they're still as amazing as you remember. Or, your father was right. You were an idiot, and everything you watched was stupid. So buckle up, movie aficionados. Over-the-top gore? Check. Over-embellished action? Check. Gratuitous nudity? Double check. Storyline so absurd you could drive a semi-truck through those plot holes. Oh yeah, some of those movies didn't even know what a movie plot was. And that's the way we liked it. Now, here's your hosts, Anna Santos and Jimmy Coates.
Okay, welcome to the I Remember Liking That Movie podcast. Today we are going back to the 80s, one of the best decades ever, if you're like a little kid. Cereal, cartoons, and cheesy movies.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those is the movie we are going to be previewing today called Red Heat from 1988 from director Walter Hill, which I didn't realize is one of my favorite directors. He directed The Warriors.
Oh.
Southern Comfort, 48 Hours with Eddie Murphy, Brewster's Millions, Crossroads, Johnny Handsome, another 48 Hours, Trespass, Geronimo, an American Legend, Last Man Standing, Supernova. That movie sucked ass. Oh, he directed it and he changed his name, so he knew it sucked. It was under the name of Thomas Lee.
There you go.
And not only that, but he wrote not just all the, like he wrote The Warriors. He wrote, what other ones that he did here? Southern Comfort, 48 Hours, Streets of Fire. I love Streets of Fire. I think Aliens he wrote.
Yes.
I didn't realize I like a lot of his movies.
Yeah, I'm rolling through and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
I didn't realize this. Now, it also stars Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jim Belushi, and I love both of those guys. We did The Principal, but I don't think we've done an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie yet.
I don't think we have, no.
No. And
that makes me a little sad.
And this movie also has Ed O'Ross, which you'll know the face, Peter Boyle, Lawrence Fishburne, Gina Gershon, and a whole bunch of other Brian James.
Yeah.
Yeah, just so many people from the 80s movies that you'll recognize. What do you remember of Red Heat?
Honestly, I know for a fact I have seen this movie. I know it. Do I remember anything from it? No. But I remember liking it, and I remember it being an action movie. This is what I remember. Because maybe it was just Arnold Schwarzenegger during that time period played a lot of this, basically the same character, but just in different formats of movies.
Oh yeah, like you're looking at.
They all start to blend together, and I'm like, which one is this?
Predator, Commando, Raw Deal, The Running Man. Like it's all just him.
Yeah. So
killing
I was
and shooting people.
And it's essentially the same character over and over and over again. I think when he finally went different, it was like for twins, maybe.
Actually, the Twins came out the same year. It came out a couple months after this movie.
There you go. I think at that point, that's when I started differentiating who Arnold Schwarzenegger was in movies. Because before that, he basically played the same guy over and over and over again. But I remember liking this movie. I remember thinking it was cheesy as fuck. Because I watched this in the 90s.
Yeah.
Like this was a rental. This
Yeah.
was your renting Kindergarten Cop. So let's rent another Schwarzenegger movie. And you got this one with it. I remember liking it. I thought it was cheesy as fuck.
I remember fighting with like a friend where he was like the Sylvester Stallone and I was Arnold Schwarzenegger, that type of thing. Even though we both liked
the great ageless debate.
Yeah. and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then James Belushi. I absolutely loved as a kid. His comedy movies. He didn't do a ton of action. Not in the 80s. He was more known
No.
for, well, The Principal, but he did more like Taking Care of Business, Mr. Destiny. But yeah, I love James Belushi. So both of these in the movie together was great. I remember it being a lot of one-liners,
Oh yeah.
a lot of buddy cop cliches, a lot of accented one-liners from Arnold. Things blow up, people get shot at.
Like the first 5 movies before this one that
Yeah.
Arnold did.
And actually, not even Arnold. It's just that the whole 80s was these cop movies.
Oh yeah.
Buddy cop movies. Yeah, there was so many of them. Like the 80s really loved their buddy
They're
cop
buddy cops,
movies.
yeah. It
All right.
was an era. It was an era.
And we don't get a lot of them anymore.
No, because they keep failing miserably now.
Yeah,
Like we had Rush Hour.
that was great.
The first couple did really
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
But every time they try to do it now,
And Bad Boys and like you could still, but now because those were all R-rated.
yeah.
Like all the 80s and 90s, they were all R-rated, and then now they want to do them PG to get everyone to watch. Yeah, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work like that.
No,
Or
they
people are
need
just
to-
sick of them. They got so much of it.
That is, I don't think so. I think people
No, I
are
don't
still
think so.
trying and they still want to watch them.
Yeah.
Then they want new ones. But I don't think they know how to write it now.
No, because a lot of the stuff like is very.
A lot of it was super offensive. Like
what made them so
super offensive,
awesome.
but funny.
Yeah.
Because guess what? A lot of times cops are offensive. No offense to all the police officers in the world, but
Yeah, they're only
I mean,
human.
but they deal with a lot of like dark shit. So then they end up having really dark and morbid humor.
Yeah.
And that doesn't always translate when you're trying to make it like good for the masses.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah, everything comes around. Like I'm sure in a few,
Yeah.
like in a year or the next decade, watch like buddy cops will be all the rage. All right. June 17th, 1988, it came out with a budget of 29 million, 8 million of which was Arnold Schwarzenegger's payday.
God damn.
Not the like you're thinking 8 million because like I remember in the late 90s people are getting 20 million. 8 million in 1988. That's a lot of money for an actor.
That's a shit ton of money.
And it didn't do great. It made 34 million. I'm sure when rentals came around, it got all its money back and maybe then some, but it wasn't a huge movie.
No.
Not when you paid 29 million, you only got 34 back.
I want to know how much Belushi got paid.
Not 8 million.
Not 8 million.
Of note, it opened at number 1, knocking Tom Hanks big out of first place and beating newcomers, The Great Outdoors. I love that movie with John Candy and Dan Aykroyd, which came in third, and Bull Durham, which debuted at number 6. And I remember liking Bull Durham with Kevin Costner and
Yeah.
What's her name? Oh, for the love of God.
I
Tim
can
Robbins.
hear in my head. Susan Sarandon.
Yeah. I remember liking that movie too. But it quickly fell
It's
off the
classic.
top 10 by its 5th weekend. It was gone.
We should totally do a sports movie theme.
I love sports movies.
Oh God, me too.
They're great.
So much. It's been years since I've watched Rudy. I'm just saying.
That's a good movie.
Right?
That's a great movie.
Cry every time.
Field of
Anyways.
Dreams.
Oh,
Love Field of
yes.
Dreams too. Yeah. Okay. 1988. It is considered just a flat out action. It is rated R and comes in at 1 hour and 43 minutes.
acceptable, but feels a little long.
I remember setting this up. I'm doing this. I'm going, Anna's gonna fucking hate these taglines.
I'm ready. Yeah.
All right. Number 1. Police Captain Ivan Danko came from behind the Iron Curtain to the streets of Chicago, hunting down his country's deadliest criminal. Now Danko's about to team up with the city's most unpredictable lawman.
The fuck is that? That's not a goddamn tagline.
It's almost a synopsis.
It's a synopsis. Jesus Christ. And also, who wrote this? A reporter from the 1940s, the Daily Bugle? For fuck's sake.
There's the next one. One brings his own style from Moscow to Chicago. The other has no style at all. With it, this much friction, there's going to be heat.
God, they were trying too hard to put the word heat in there.
Moscow's toughest detective, Chicago's craziest cop. There's only one thing more dangerous than making them mad, making them partners.
They should have just cut it off after Chicago's craziest cop. Moscow's toughest detective, Chicago's craziest cop. Boom.
Yeah.
That's a tagline. The fuck is this?
Or just having a picture like that, and then there's
Yeah.
only one thing more dangerous than making them mad, making them partners.
Perfect.
Synopsis, which is about as long as their tagline. A dedicated Soviet cop arrives in Chicago, where he reluctantly teams up with a foul-mouthed American detective to comb the streets of the Windy City for the Russian drug dealer who killed both their partners.
Oh, okay.
So not a whole, pretty simple story.
Very simple, which is always needed for buddy cop movies. Never overcomplicate things.
And here is the original poster. It's just Schwarzenegger up top, Belushi on the bottom, red heat, the long ass synopsis in the middle.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's not a bad poster. I remember I didn't go to the theaters, obviously, in 1988 to see this.
No.
But I did sneak in to see other movies. But yeah, this was definitely a rental. This one kind of I did not find out about this until it was in a rental of a Blockbuster or something.
This I would have watched in the 90s, as I said, like doing a Schwarzenegger night or a cheesy action movie night.
Yeah.
Where you're like Rocky, Red Heat. Then you randomly pick something with Dolph Lundgren in it.
Yeah. Or Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yes.
What's his name? Steven Seagal.
Ooh, yeah, the Steven Seagals.
Yeah, they were horrible, but they were fun. They were like,
he was terrible. He still
is.
He's a terrible actor. Terrible. Yeah. But God bless.
All right, Rotten Tomatoes, 26 critic reviews, comes in at 69%.
It's higher than I thought it would be.
Very much, but it's weird because 25,000 audience reviews comes in at 38%.
They were probably looking for a plot.
There's
their problem.
Yeah. Critic consensus is Red Heat's over-reliance on genre formula is bolstered by Walter Hill's rugged direction and a strong touch of humor.
Ooh, strong touch.
All right, so let us start with the good, and you may start.
I'm ready. Arnold's introductory sequence in the bathhouse is a stellar action set piece, and the mega-sized bus chicken car chase final showdown is simply unhinged 1980s action filmmaking, excessive glory at its finest. Ed Travis, Synapse. Now that they said bathhouse, I was like,
I kind of remember
that scene flashed in my head, and I was like, oh shit, right.
Surface stuff, moderately contemptuous, but entertaining enough. Jeff Andrew, timeout.
Interesting, Jeff. Hill's confidence keeps the formulaic buddy cop cliches entertaining. Chuck Rudolph, Matinee Magazine, original score, 3 out of 5.
Hill's muscular, energetic direction makes what might have been just another buddy cop thriller into an electrifying piece of escapism. One of Arnold's most underrated flicks. Chuck O'Leary, Fantastica Daily, original score, 3.5 out of 4.
Wow, Chuck. Red Heat is not the first movie about a couple of very different cops, and it will not be the last. But as the formula goes, this is a superior example. Roger Ebert, Chicago Sun-Times, original score, 3 out of 4. Go ahead, Ebert.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty good for Roger Ebert.
Yeah.
Rotten. Right off the assembly line. Hale Hinson, Washington Post.
Dang. This thing was a dud in the 80s. That's saying something. Alex Santel, Juicy Cerebellum, original score, 1 out of 5. Damn, Alex.
Now, there were a lot more, but they didn't actually have anything on Rotten Tomatoes, just the big old Rotten sign. So that was all I got. IMD, the voice of reason. 76,000 user rating, comes in at 6.1 out of 10. That's not bad.
Okay, not bad.
You may start.
Thank you. Buddy routine, cop classic, underrated 80s action flick. 10 out of 10. Ivo Cobra, 8.
Red Heat is brilliantly executed action goodness. 9 out of 10. One guy rambling.
They don't make them like this anymore. 8 out of 10. Florian Lau.
They sure don't.
No.
It doesn't matter if it is predictable, derivative, and dated. It is still enjoyable. 7 out of 10. Cinemaniac 1984.
Straightforward buddy cop thriller is watchable enough. 6 out of 10. Leaf Wine Draca.
That's watchable.
It's watchable enough.
Typical 80s buddy cop film that misses more than it hits. 5 out of 10. Smells like cheese.
You smell like cheese. Boring Lethal Weapon ripoff. 4 out of 10. Master Blaster in Bartertown.
Worst Arnold movie ever. 3 out of 10. Songs of Self. 1.
That's saying something. Bloody awful movie. 2 out of 10. Virginia Shed.
Red Meltdown. 1 out of 10. That's the only 1 out of 10 there was. So there was another 2 out of 10 that was far superior. So here you go. This is ridiculous.
Y'all don't know. I drink Eagle's blood while it's on fire. I chopped off my hand and replaced it with a Colt 45. I don't drive a car. At the same time, I tape them together. I'm so strong, I crush walnuts between my pectoral muscles. Flex and crush, flex and crush. I got a tattoo of Jesus on a Harley, and Jesus had a tattoo of me, also on a Harley. My teeth are throwing stars. My skeleton is made from diamond-encrusted Lamborghinis. I got a pet alligator that I feed to my other pet, which is a great white shark. 2 out of 10.
What the fuck is that?
I don't know, but I love it, and I kind of want to get a T-shirt with that.
I know. I'm like, it doesn't even say anything about red heat. But I read it, and I'm laughing. I'm like, that's awesome.
I want it on a T-shirt.
Oh, this guy is definitely down south.
Oh my god! But like just like that, with a giant "y'all don't know," and then all of that written underneath it in smaller printing. I need it. I need it so much.
All right, I'm off the screen, aren't I?
Yeah, you are.
Okay, hold on.
I wasn't gonna say nothing.
What the hell? Oh, I'll go in here. Camera.
Are you coming back? Are you coming back? Oh, I should probably cover that since we're not being sponsored.
What happened?
It's your thumbnail picture or your profile pic. It's a little dramatic.
Yeah. Oh, look, a little thing goes around when I'm talking.
It does.
Hold on. Almost there.
The Gremlins.
Why is it not? There we go.
Okay.
Jesus Christ. I need I need a big computer, like a tower, and
Yeah.
to run all this. All right.
Yeah. This is why I got a whole ass new laptop for this. That
Yeah.
I do nothing else on except for like this and some occasional emails. That's it.
But yes, that was a great.
It's fucking amazing. I need it on a T-shirt.
All right, give me 1 second.
No worries.
All right, so we did the box office, went through the tail of the tape, looked at the review, one awesome review from IMDb. Now let's watch the trailer for Red Heat and then make our prediction.
I'm ready. Let's do this.
Look, just out of curiosity, how do you Soviets deal with all the tension and stress? Vodka.
Police Captain Ivan Danko came from behind the Iron Curtain.
Danko, you're welcome.
Hunting down his country's deadliest criminal.
What did he do? He take a leak on the Kremlin wall or something? I need cooperation. Sure. Whatever you say, Gumby.
Now, he's about to team up.
What do you say? He say, go and kiss your mother's behind.
with the most unpredictable cop
How you doing, honey?
Drop dead.
Thank you.
on the streets of Chicago.
You look like Marvin Hagler to me. I lost money on Hagler.
Capitalism. He's got his own kind of style.
Body language is a beautiful thing, isn't it?
He's got no style at all.
Chicago cop never relinquishes his weapon. Here.
Ridzik is a good cop
Police!
and a total expert at fouling up.
You did not make it, Victor. You kill a Chicago police officer, Chicago gets him first. I have my honor.
With this much friction,
I give up. This whole thing's very Russian.
there's gotta be heat.
I take care of this.
Red heat.
You know what we call this? This is called chicken. But you're not supposed to play with buses. You ready to swerve?
Arnold Schwarzenegger, James Belushi, in a Walter Hill film.
Nice work, Gumby. Thank you. I didn't mean that. I know.
Red Heat.
That looks so 80s.
I think this is going to be terrible. Here's hoping it's terrible in a good way.
I hope so. I think it looks awesome in a bad way.
You're gonna go anyway. But when I saw Schwarzenegger like with zero facial expressions, I was like, there he is.
Yeah.
There he is.
You didn't even have to act
Nope.
for
Also,
$8 million.
the naked fighting in the snow scene. I was like, what? Were they just
Yeah,
finding reasons to get him naked?
probably. Yeah, to show off his muscles, probably.
Yeah.
They're like, how do we get him like almost completely naked?
How do we get
I
him
know.
naked?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So you think it might be bad, but you're hoping it's so bad it's good. I
Yeah.
think it looks awesomely bad and really 80s. Yeah, a lot of one-liners. I'm sure there's even more in the movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right.
We'll see how this goes.
Well, we are going to go watch Red Heat, and when we get back, we are going to review it.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
And now, on with the show.
Yay!
Woo!
Didn't that look like fun, kids? Shooting and hookers and misogyny and no regard. Public baths, no regard for public safety during a police chase.
Yeah, no.
Oh,
None.
the 80s were fun. Did you watch the 1988 Arnold Schwarzenegger, James Belushi action extravaganza, Red Heat?
I did indeed.
All right. First,
Yes.
bathhouse,
Yes.
steam gym fucking thing at the beginning. Arnold walks in.
Correct.
Close up right on his crotch.
Of course.
His real schlong, yes or no?
His, I think, real augmented a little bit. I think there may have been a little padding. I'm just saying.
Because they really wanted you to see it.
They really did.
Yeah, they were like, look,
they really did.
Look at
They're like,
Arnold.
he's big everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Look at that Austrian meat stick. Second, before we start, we reached out to our YouTube subscribers and told them that Red Heat would be our next movie on the podcast, and then asked would they buy it, rent it, stream it, or skip it.
Mm-hmm.
And where did I put it? There it is. All right. So those who answered, 69% said buy it. It's an 80s action classic. 13% said rent it, worth a trip to the 80s. 19% said stream it for the nostalgia, and the last was skip it because it sucked balls was 0. No one thought it sucked balls. So
Interesting.
but yeah, 69% said buy it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have a feeling those people have not watched it in many, many years.
Well, with that, your initial thoughts.
It was kind of a boring movie, but it all felt super familiar because Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jim Belushi have given these exact same performances in other movies. But overall, I mean, it was an 80s action movie. So it is what it is. It was fine. Fine. What are your thoughts on it?
I had a lot of fun watching this movie, but I'm like, I love Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. Like I was a little kid when I saw Running Man, Predator, Commando, Terminator, and I love Jim Belushi, like the principal. You didn't really like that one.
No, and
No.
he gave the exact same performance.
Oh yeah,
in
it
this
was
movie.
James Belushi, yeah, and
It
I
was
did like,
identical.
and I did like the principal, probably because of that, and K9 and Taking Care of Business and Mr. Destiny. And here we have a movie with 2 of them in it. This movie had everything you could want in an 80s movie. Big fight scenes where it sounded like you were actually playing Street Fighter 2.
True.
Like those over embellished
Yes.
punching sound effects.
Somebody went a little too hard in the Foley studio.
Oh god, because each punch, like they had 2 or 3 different sounding ones.
Yeah.
But out of the 40 punches that were thrown in that bathhouse scene in the snow,
Yeah.
you only heard like 3 distinct punch sounds. They were all the same 3. It was awesome. Gunshots that had sparks with every impact. Like even if it hit wood.
Yep.
Boobies.
So many boobies.
So many boobies. One-liners. Holy shit, one-liners.
So many one-liners.
I'm sure if some people today watch this movie, James Belushi's character Ridzik might say
Ridzik.
that might trigger some of the more dandyish people walking around, but I didn't find it overly bad.
No, I didn't find it offensive.
That's what I thought there was going to be a lot more offense in this movie.
Yeah, like there were some off-color like comments.
Yeah.
But nothing like straight up objectively offensive.
No.
Like there's stuff where people might get a little sensitive about it, but it wasn't like nobody's using any like super slurs.
No.
You know, there's no like obvious I don't even know like no obvious isms.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Other than sexism. There's a little bit of that.
Yeah. There's a little bit of sexism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of obvious because my God, could we have any more tits and ass?
There's
But there's a lot of male ass too.
Yeah.
We saw Schwarzenegger's
And
tits.
all sorts of asses. There are
So
fat
many
guy
asses.
asses, but there are a lot of asses that worked out.
There were a lot of asses that worked out. Then there was like there was one ass that did not work out.
No.
And R.I.P. sir. But I mean overall, I mean it's a cheesy 80s movie.
Yeah.
Nothing original about it. But it wasn't like roll my eyes while I'm watching this.
Like that scene in the diner where the waitress is like top you up and he's like, I just got my coffee the right color brown. Then 2 minutes later, he's like snapping his fingers. Hey, honey, what are you waiting for? Are you on your break? Get some coffee over here.
And she gave him a look, and I was like, I've given that look.
Yeah,
I've
exactly.
given that look working food service.
Because he was a kind of a douchey character, but they made him, everyone around him was aware of what kind of person
Oh
he
yeah,
was.
everybody like low-key hated him, but liked him for hating him. You know, he's that guy.
Yeah.
He's that guy you work with that you're like, he's the worst, but you get so used to it.
Yeah, can't wait to
that
see
you'd
what he
be-
says next.
Yeah, and then you're kind of sad if he ever goes away, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm sad about that because he gets on my nerves every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now what am I going to hate on?
Exactly.
All right, so let's go over Red Heat from 1988. Now, the whole walkthrough plot from Wikipedia is very, very short. And in Wikipedia's defense this time, this movie is not about plot.
No, it's not.
There is one, but it's very straightforward and very to the point, simple.
I like to say it's like a see Jane run kind of like it's like this happens, so this happens,
Yeah,
so this happens,
yeah.
and then we fight and throw in some one-liners, but it doesn't actually like move the story ahead.
Nope.
It's moving ahead with or without it.
Okay, so I did go because it was so small.
Yeah.
I did actually have to read through this one because it just skipped out on everything. They just basically did the plot and that was it.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. Yeah, because they don't even pick up. They don't even include the bath scene, like the bathhouse
Really?
scene. Yeah, no, it's not even there. It picks up when they're at the airport. No, they pick up when
They go to the cafe?
yes, that's where
Okay.
it picks up. So, and the bathhouse is a great action scene. It's very homoerotic. If you like big burly men, not and straight erotic. If you like big burly men with muscles,
Honestly, and the women, first of all, I don't know how accurate this bath is.
oh, I don't even. Was it a bathhouse? Was it
Was it a
workout
gym?
gym?
Was
Was
it
it
a
a
sauna? Like,
yeah? There were women in a pool and naked in a fountain, and
and just
these
letting
men were just
water run
pumping
all yeah.
iron.
I was like, what
Like,
is
where's
happening at this place?
you could probably get a lot like for $15, you'd probably get a lot of people over here that would sign up to that friggin' gym.
Well, because I know for public baths, there are some co-ed areas, but usually you have to wear your bathing suit or a towel or something.
Not in Russia.
Not in Russia, apparently. Not in Russia in the 80s, let's be
No.
clear. But it was funny because normally if they're co-ed, they have separate areas, like a men's area and a women's area, but usually it's a men's bath and a women's bath. Like you're not intermingling. But these people are just like, "Oh, hey, I'm just gonna be in this hot water and show everybody my titties. And here's my ass. And here's well, a lot of the men were wearing loincloths
Yeah,
or
a lot of
aprons,
them.
one of the two. It was
Yeah.
super weird. While working out? What?
Oh yeah. And Arnold wasn't the biggest dude in this
Mm-mm.
bathhouse. There were some straight up huge men in this bathhouse.
They were very, very large.
Like
And I don't know if that's a Russian thing.
well, you always kind of think that, right? Like the big Russians.
You think tall but slim.
Yeah. but
You're
these
not
guys
thinking big and beefy.
yeah, these guys were huge.
But these guys were beefy.
I could not walk into a place like, are you fucking kidding me? I would feel so small in that place. I'd be wearing my t-shirt, and unlike these dudes, I'd be wearing one of those big towels way past my knees. Oh my god.
I would not be going into there's a hydro spa in Toronto that I do like going to, but it's expected that you wear a bathing suit. And I think it's all women. I think it's women only. Or at least every time I've been there, it's only been women. But I'm like, none of this, like, let's all just get naked and hang out in communal water. Nah, I would never do this ever.
No.
Ew.
No. Yeah. Well, just a quick overview. Arnold's character is looking for Victor, a drug dealer in Russia or Soviet Union back then. He goes to this bathhouse because some guys there might know where he is. But Captain Danko, I think it's Captain.
Yes.
Yeah. And he walks in and he looks like a cop.
Oh, 100%.
Even me in the corner still wearing his t-shirt and long ass towel would be like, that dude is a cop. And he's ripped. Like he's still Arnold. He's still ripped.
Well, this was in his like super body heyday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This was fresh off of the bodybuilding competitions and like he was still maintaining that physique.
Oh yeah. And for the money he was getting paid, like yeah, he was pumping iron.
Oh yeah.
So he asks a couple questions and they're like, you look like a puss. Here's a red hot rock to hold to prove that you're not a cop. And I don't know what that really was, but I'd be like, fuck that.
Well, because he said you don't look like a foundry worker.
Yeah.
So obviously, foundry, you're basically melting metal.
Yeah.
So it's supposedly very hot, although I don't understand at what process in which you're melting down metals, you hold a hot rock.
Well, they said you just be used to the heat.
Get used to the heat. And I was like,
But I'm like, dude, they know you're a cop. Why
Yeah.
put yourself through that? Like, what the fuck?
But I like it because he holds the rock. They
He
close
holds
his
it.
hand over it.
Yeah, it
He
burns.
holds it longer and then hits him with it. So I'm
Barely
like,
registers
valid.
yet. Just punches him in the face.
Yep.
Like, you could have done that without burning your fucking hand. Stupid Russian. But yeah, he could have easily just led with the punch. He goes flying out the window. That he was a Mongolian. He was a wrestler. And his whole shtick. He's Mongolian. He goes through the window into the snow below. Dango picks up another guy who frequents many of Arnold's movies. The guy with the beard.
Mhm.
He's in a lot of Arnold movies, and throws that guy and himself out the window. And this is an era when they really wanted to emphasize the importance of the punch. It didn't matter face, stomach, and this is what I was saying. It all sounded the same, like a kung fu
Yeah.
movie sound effects. Also, like the fucking towels had no back to them, and when they're fighting in the snow, a lot of from behind shots, but they were bending. And at first, I
Yeah.
was like, "Uh-oh," but no need to hide your eyes because you're not getting an eye full of schlongs or dingleberries. They're fighting in the snow.
No.
Those
They
guys are.
managed to keep those covered.
Yeah. Plus, it was probably really cold out, so
It was very cold out.
yeah. So they start fighting, and he starts pulling on the one guy's beard, and then that guy just gives up Victor Rasta like immediately.
Yes, of course.
And from someone that occasionally has a beard, there is no greater pain than someone pulling on your beard. Like, if you're in any type of profession where your intimate knowledge of certain things is vital to keep hidden or secret, don't grow a beard because you're just gonna give it up when someone pulls on it.
That's super specific.
Oh, he really gave that up really quick.
Well,
Just
yeah.
tugging on his beard.
This was only the start of the movie. So they had to make it quick.
Yeah.
And
Now
it's
we're
also a show of strength for Arnold Schwarzenegger.
for Arnold.
Yeah.
Now we're at Wikipedia. Captain Ivan Danko and Lieutenant Yuri Ogarkov, or whatever, of the Moscow militia
Militia.
lead us because it's spelled really weird here. Lead a sting operation against Georgian drug kingpin Victor Rasta. However, Rasta managed to evade capture and in the ensuing firefight kills, I'm going to say his first name, Yuri, and flees to the United States. As Danko is recovering from his injuries, Rasta is arrested for a minor traffic violation in Chicago, and Danko is subsequently dispatched to America to retrieve the felon under the strict orders not to reveal the true nature of Rasta's extradition. So Victor kills Danko's partner and buddy.
Yes. And can we talk about when he walked into the cafe in full
Yeah.
uniform?
Oh,
all
yeah.
by himself?
Yeah. The
Walks
balls
right
on
up
this
to him and
guy.
says, "Come with me." And they try to play the persecuted, like, "Why do you always look for the Georgians? Why are
Yeah.
you where's your evidence?" And then he literally grabs the guy, throws him down. And then I thought he was breaking his
Breaking
leg.
his leg. Yeah.
And I was like, "Ooh." And then I realized, "Oh, it's a prosthetic."
Yeah.
And then the sound when he takes out the stopper,
That popping sound.
that popping sound,
Yeah.
it was like, "Pop." And I was like, "What?" And then all he says is cocaine. I'd also like to point out, every time they say cocaine, because he said cocaine?
Yeah, not quite
Cocaine?
cocaine. It's something. Yeah.
It's Russian for cocaine, but we all know what it is.
Yeah.
But that's the only Russian word through this entire movie that they did not subtitle.
Mm.
There was never a
I
subtitle that
didn't
said
notice that.
cocaine.
Hmm.
I noticed it because he was speaking Russian. Everybody was speaking Russian.
Yep.
And there were subtitles. And then he takes that out and he pours out the cocaine from the empty peg leg. And then all of a sudden, there's no subtitle when he says cocaine. I'm going to say it like that because I can't remember the exact word. But I mean, if someone wants to tell me what the exact word is, by all means, please comment and share. Because we would love to know the Russian word for cocaine. Because I'm going to use it so much.
Yeah, and Danko. So Victor kills Danko's partner Yuri, and Danko kills Victor's brother. That's our two opening scenes that introduce kind of Arnold Schwarzenegger's character. So at this point, what are we thinking so far?
I'm thinking that they did a really, really poor job of showing the friendship between Danko and Yuri. So I don't care when Yuri gets killed. I'm like, okay. He was cute, but I was like, this is not enough for me. I also don't see like I needed to see anguish or at least sadness in Danko's eyes. I did not see that.
Yeah, we don't get any of that in
We don't
any
get any
part
of
of
that
this
from
movie.
Yeah. So I was like, "Oh, okay, so he killed his partner and then he's being sent to extradite this criminal. Cool." I'm still kind of apathetic to it, but we have had 2 great fight scenes.
Yeah.
So we can give a high five for that.
Yeah, because Yuri was with him in the bathhouse. But other than
Yeah.
the scene where they're in the car, you really don't get a whole lot of like I
Yeah.
don't know if that was to make them be more Russian. I don't know. I
But there was
did like
no interaction, like almost none. They had 2 stunted conversations. And even in the bathhouse, if they made more eye contact or if there was, a little shake of the head or something that showed, yeah, they're in sync. They've been partners for a while.
yeah. Yeah, there was these 2 scenes were obviously just to set up Arnold's character
Yes.
as the big unstoppable Russian tank of a police officer. Yeah, they could have used a bit more. I did like the opening credit scene. Like the
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Moscow Red Square, the monuments, the guards, it looks cold and bleak. I'm sure that was on purpose.
I think I I made a note and I was like, they're really pushing the "we're in Russia" thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, everything's super stereotypical because it also remember, this was during the Cold War. This
Yeah.
movie was made during like, the Cold War ended in 1989. I specifically looked that up because 'cause I'm like, I'm pretty sure we were still in the Cold War. So, Russia was still very much almost a mystery.
Yeah.
So, what like, actual real life Russia? So we were just getting a lot of stereotypes, but I was like, "God, they're pulling out all the stereotypes. Look, there's Stalin. Look, I'm pretty sure that's
Actually,
Lenin."
there's a great piece of trivia at the we'll do after this that's on
Mhm.
our trivia thing about that.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. I did like the conversation between Danko and Yuri in the car, like where
Yeah.
Yuri says the boys used to call you Iron Jaw, but now they're calling you Roundhead
Yeah.
because you're circumcised.
That was the first bit of, like, humanity, and then it's funny because Yuri says, "Hey, I'm circumcised too,"
Yeah.
and he just, like, keeps going, and I was like, "Man, Yuri sounds like a good time." I wanted a little more like, if we had just had 2 more small conversations like that between the guys.
And that's the thing. They had 2 big action scenes, the bathhouse and the cafe.
Yeah.
You could have had 1 and used that extra time to have Arnold at Yuri's place with his family, like, just to make it a little more.
Or Yuri just poking more fun at him,
Yeah.
and, Arnold maybe cracking a smile to show, "You know what? I'm not, like, a full monster. Like, I'm not a robot. I care. This is funny. We have a camaraderie." Because 'Cause I'm like, it just seems very almost inconsequential, his partner dying. You know what I like, we could have taken that out completely and
Yeah.
just sent Danko to the US to get Victor
Yeah.
Rasta. Done.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have made no difference, really.
Yeah.
And then they talk about worrying about Moscow turning to Miami with all the drugs coming in. Now, even before the next part, we see Danko talking to his superiors, and then we see Victor setting up a drug deal on the streets of Chicago. And it's been over 15 minutes, and we still haven't even seen James Belushi.
Correct.
So, for a simple plot, they are putting a lot of time into giving some actual credence in this villain's villainy.
Mhm.
Because to be fair to the movie, it does set up Arnold Schwarzenegger, but it also sets up Victor Rasta
Yes.
as this guy that everybody in Russia seems to want to get.
Yeah, because they do a really good job of making him look seriously depraved. Like,
Oh
he
yeah,
really doesn't care about anyone or anything. Like,
yeah. His brother just died.
he left his brother to die.
Yeah, life
He
goes on.
ran, left his brother there to get shot, and
People
he
in
was
Russia
like,
still need their drugs.
Exactly.
Okay, upon arriving in Chicago, Danko's met by Detective Sergeant Art Ridzik and Detective Max Gallagher. Okay, so before we got to this point, we
Mhm.
established the co-star and give an introduction that very basically and entertainingly sets up Sergeant Art Ridzik. He and his partner are going to make this arrest with their lieutenant, Lawrence Fishburne, kind of by the book, follow the rules type. There's always one in these type of movies. And it sets up Belushi's character from him talking about the hooker's boobies,
Yes.
whether or not they're real or fake, getting on the lieutenant's nerves, the shootout, the profanity. I did like Jim Belushi's setup. How about you?
It definitely set up his character accurately, because I can tell you the note I wrote was, "Me and the other 2 cops are of a similar mind." He got on my nerves. Straight up, he got on my nerves, and I was like, "Man, if I had to work with that guy 24/7, I'd punch him in the throat." Like,
Because Buddy is like, can you like pay, like, we're on the job, and he like looks at him like, it's just an opinion. Like,
and then Larry Fishburne, who, by the way, that's how he's credited in this movie.
oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He's credited as Larry
Larry
Fishburne.
Fishburne, yeah.
He's just like, you can tell he's fed up. He's like, "I just wanna get this guy fired." Soon, I'm working on it. He's like, "God damn it, you're gonna get me killed." It's just I love these 2 cops.
Yeah. Yeah, the
'Cause
one's trying to calm him down.
yeah, the one is like the babysitter, and the
Yeah.
other one is like the principal who just wants to expel this kid. He's like, "I just want him out."
Yeah.
And yes, Jim Belushi, just like an overgrown 12-year-old.
Yeah. I loved how he just yelled, "Freeze, motherfucker," and
Mm.
he's like, "I know you're nervous about the gun pointed at your head, but don't worry, I'm a professional."
See, there were some lines that like that where I smiled or I kinda like
Yeah.
gave a soft chuckle. I didn't find this movie that funny.
Then we actually go back to Moscow. They find out Victor got arrested for traffic violation. I did love the part with the 2 Russian cops where he gives them the thing and he says, "Take this up to," and then find Captain Danko. And he goes, "Oh, America." He's going to Chicago gangsters. And then the one is like, and does that Tommy gun,
Yeah.
and they kind of laugh for a brief second. And then they're like, "Okay, enough. Go do your job." That I did like that part.
That part was it was fantastic. And now I'm super, because when you see them typing up that report or that report's being typed up, um, I guess that was like an old-timey fax machine. I was like, "Is that really how you spell Chicago in Russian?" Like, these are my questions that I'm like, "Is that how you spell it? Really?"
Then Ridzik and partner is Gallagher meeting Danko at the airport was a fun scene. Jim Belushi, as the woman's walking by, and he's like, "How you doing, honey?" or whatever he says, and she's like,
Mm.
Go blow yourself."
Yeah.
He's like, thank you very much. That's good thinking." See, okay, we could tell that I enjoyed this movie a lot more than you enjoyed this
You
movie.
really did. You really Here's the thing, it just felt like one really long comedy sketch that should have been 3 minutes long. That was what the one-liners felt like. Didn't feel
Mm,
like he was a funny character. He was just a character who tried to say funny things.
right.
So that's where I kinda hit the wall with the humor.
And now through this entire movie, Arnold is very stiff. He doesn't say a lot.
Mm,
But thinking about the time period, he plays what we all would have thought a military or a police officer, a Russian police officer would be like.
yeah.
Like he gives a lot of one-word answers through most of the movie. He opens up later on a bit, but it's yes, no, vodka. Um, he also doesn't want to go to the nice hotel. He wants to go to the shithole Victor was staying in. I like the hotel guy.
Uh,
Um,
the hotel guy, I was like, "You look so familiar."
yes.
So I looked him up and I was like, "That's why you look so familiar. You've been on so many shows that I have watched,
Oh
so
yeah.
many movies." And I was like, "Oh,
All
also,
small parts.
how do you do that BDI thing?"
Yeah. He's when you see him, you definitely recognize him.
Oh god, yeah.
And like the guy who played Gallagher, Max Gallagher, the police,
Yep.
his partner, very familiar as well. He's been in a lot of mob movies.
Yes.
Yeah. So he goes and stays at this shitty hotel. Then they go to the precinct. Rizek is playing the chess game, and Danko is like, make this move or you're done in 2 moves.
Mm-hmm.
And then the captain explains how they caught Victor. Captain shows him while they're waiting how he deals with stress in the fish tanks because he's looking at the fish tank and you need lighting and relaxing music. And then he's like, how do you deal with stress? He's like, vodka. So
I mean, accurate.
I thought it was, at first I was thinking that's kind of lazy on Arnold's part, but he really did give what we back in, or what they, I was a kid, what people would in the 80s would have thought an actual Russian would be like.
Well, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, there was a lot of kind of propaganda and a lot of like stereotypes about especially the Russian military, Russian police, Russian officials, and basically just that kind of unfeeling, you know, not robotic, but I don't know the right word for this, but it's almost mechanical. Like it was very proper. They were not they were never portrayed in North America as a warm, caring people. Oh, look at that. We just got a lower third.
Lower third. I just found it.
That was very poignant. But yeah, no, it was a very I think they could have I understand Arnold Schwarzenegger's character at this point because he's still very stiff, very firm, very no nonsense. And I'm like, I can understand the vodka answer but it still felt like he had no personality.
Yeah.
I wanted a little bit of personality. Yuri had personality for like the 3 minutes we heard him talk. All kinds of
yeah.
personality.
Yeah.
Like I just want a little personality.
As he is interrogating Rasta, Danko confiscates a mysterious key hidden on his person while Rasta is being transported to the airport. We also get the scene of Danko asking him what the key is. Then Rizik asks, and Victor answers in Russian, and Rizik's like, "What'd he say?" And then he says, "Kiss your mother's behind."
Yes.
And then there's a long pause because Rizik deduces that Danko cleaned up the language for him, and then he attacked Victor. And then his partner's like, "You gotta calm down. You gotta." He's like, "I'm fine. I'm fine. Happens all the time. Every day, someone tells me to go fuck my mother's ass."
I mean, if you're a cop in Chicago in the 80s, chances are.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, you probably did get told that quite a few times.
And I think this R-rated humor is one of the things that is missing in today's PG-13 action movies. You don't get this. And I think, like, I know they want more people watching it, but this is not, it's not the only thing, but this is one of the things I kind of miss and I loved about the 80s and 90s is these R-rated action movies.
I have a potty mouth, and I sometimes say very creative things with words that cannot be said in front of children. And I do this working for an animation company where usually I'm working on shows for preschool. So I'm saying if you're a cop that like and a detective working drugs or vice or homicide, chances are you're going to talk like an adult.
Oh
And
yeah.
you're going to say things that children can't hear.
Yeah.
And I would rather have that than you sanitize the language and the movie to make it more palatable to everybody.
Yeah.
12-year-olds don't need to watch movies like this.
No.
I'm just saying. Like,
Yeah.
throw some more fucks in there.
And I miss the fucks and stuff like that and go fuck your mother and all
Yeah.
that stuff. Yeah, in movies today.
And it's okay to make movies like that.
Yeah.
And it drives me really fucking nuts when I'm like, you don't have to make movies for everybody at all at once. You don't need to do that. And that's
Exactly.
me coming off of my soapbox.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah. You don't have to hit 100% of the people.
Yeah. And you
'Cause when
don't have to aim to hit 100% of the people.
No.
And I think that's why we're ending up with a lot of fucking mediocre movies.
Yeah.
A lot of movies that, you can watch once and you never want to watch again.
Yeah. And the 80s and 90s and 70s were great for that. They're like, okay, we want males and so we're going to do this. We want females, so we're going to do this. We want kids, so we're going to do this. And yeah, now it's all, yeah. No, I agree 100%. All right. The group is ambushed by Victor's men, and Gallagher is shot and killed, allowing Rasta to escape. Against the wishes of local authorities, Danko resolves to remain in Chicago to apprehend Rasta, and Ridzik is assigned to be his minder. So Moscow blames Danko.
Yes.
Danko wants to say, please, Captain is like, okay, but Ridzik is with you all the time. I mean, the 80s and 90s police departments really played fast and loose with the rule.
They really did.
But that's why they got results in movies anyways.
Yes, but it also led to a lot of very, very bad things.
Yes. And not for not, no one seemed too upset over Gallagher's death.
Okay, can we talk about that? How nobody was like
there's a scene where Jim
avenge
Belushi,
him?
Ridzik saying he wants to stay on the case. The Captain, I knew you two were close, but that's it. There's no funeral, no drink at a bar.
There's no raging against him losing his life. There's no, you know what I would have loved? Ridzik blaming himself, because that man walked away.
Yeah.
He was like, well, I'm done now. I'm going to go. And he's buying a fucking newspaper when I'm pretty sure he was supposed to, stay with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Finish the transport.
Like maybe they shot some stuff and the editor was like, well, this is a real downer and this breaks up the whole tempo of the movie. But yeah, they could have used just a couple minutes here, like a 30 seconds here, 20 seconds there.
Yeah.
It would have made it a little more believable.
It's like I did not care about any of these characters except for Kat Manzetti. I cared about her. Everybody else, I was like, fuck you. I don't give a shit about you.
Through an informant, Danko and Ridzik learn that Rostas is working with local street gangs to purchase and smuggle uncut cocaine into the Soviet Union. The duo confront Rasta's American wife, Kat Manzetti, Gina Gershwin, but are led into an ambush where Rasta demands Danko return his key, forcing the two to flee. Okay, so Gina Gershwin, she may look a little older now. I don't know, but in this movie, since pretty much when I saw her in Brooklyn Nine-Nine just a few years ago.
Will tell
maybe
you
a little older, but she aged very well.
I literally wrote a note. Gina Gershon has aged exceptionally well.
Yeah.
Exceptionally well. Because you know what? Yeah, she may have had a little nip and a tuck, maybe some filler here and there, but she hasn't fucked with her face so much that she doesn't look like she still looks like herself, and she looks like she's aged. But she's
like
aging
36
like
years ago.
Dude, she is hot as shit.
Yeah.
Still to this day. She is 61 years old now.
Yeah.
61. And she still looks fucking amazing.
So she was probably 50, mid 50s, heading into late 50s when I saw her on Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Probably.
Yeah.
She's one of those actresses that has aged so incredibly well that you're like, you're still like her, Marissa Tomei. That's another one who's still hot as shit now.
Well, it's so weird. I saw a thing, I can't remember what it was on, probably YouTube or something, where they showed the beginning of the Golden Girls, the very first year, and their ages, like 50s, like early 50s. Then they showed like Jennifer Aniston, and they're at like 50. They're actually older now, and like like when that generation did not age well. Not that they didn't age well. This generation aged better.
Well, you also, I mean, if you really think about it,
there's a lot more products available. And
there's a lot more products
procedures.
And health is an actual thing, because you have to, like, during the 60s, smoking was still considered good for your health.
I was just going to say the smoking alone.
The excessive drinking.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody was really exercising until the 80s. Really, like, you had those weird people who were like, I'm going for a run, I go hiking, but like health clubs weren't like an everyday part of life. Like, it wasn't normal for somebody who was working class to go to the gym.
Yeah.
They were like, what the fuck? Who's wasting money on that? Like, it didn't make sense. Yeah, Jennifer Aniston is 55 years old.
55 years old, yeah.
Looking hot as shit.
Yeah.
Although she has fucked with her face a little bit, so it looks a little tighter.
Yeah.
But she still looks good. Her body is insane. But anyways, So as the decades have kind of like in the 80s was when aerobics came in, but then that's also when disordered eating was really big. And there was a lot of no fat, no sugar, or lots of sugar, but no fat. And everything started being
Yeah.
chemicalized, and Jane Fonda was on the selling her videotapes and had aerobic studios. So there was this that was when health actually started to become an industry.
Yeah.
So before that, everybody aged real quick.
Absolutely.
So quick.
Yeah, and now they're having a thing where they're finding Gen Zers
Are
now in
aging
their
quick.
are aging very quickly. Like they're looking older than the millennials. I
It's
don't know
really
what's
hard.
going on. And then it could be maybe it's preservatives. I don't fucking know.
Maybe it's just that they're not drinking from the garden hose, and that's what kept us all young.
Yeah, built up an immune system. Yeah,
Like, also we like
got sun.
I'm officially Gen X because I was born in 1980. Although I had one person tell me I was a millennial, and I was like, "Shut your mouth. I
Yeah,
am
who wants to
Gen
be a
X."
millennial?
Actually, for a long time, I was like, "Oh, fucking millennials." And everybody's like, "Aren't you one?" And I was like, "No, I missed it by a year." But it was a different they have a different kind of I don't know what it is, but Gen Z is aging rapidly.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I see like 23-year-olds who literally look 35, and I was like, "Girl, this should not be happening to you."
no, no, it doesn't bode well.
It does not. It probably is all the like fruit by the foots that we ate as a kid.
Probably, yeah.
I on fruit roll-ups. I ate a lot of fruit roll-ups growing up.
Okay, so we also get James Bryan.
Mm,
Before that, who plays a pimp. He usually plays a
yes.
psychopath, but he plays a pimp in this one. And again, I like this scene where Danko's trying to interrogate him the way they do in Moscow, and Rizik is trying to do the Chicago or any
Yeah.
major city, and trying to explain that the criminals or suspects have what they call Miranda rights. And Danko's like, in Soviet Union, suspects allowed to call a lawyer after 2 days in holding.
No, they can only call for a lawyer for 2 days.
Oh, for
That
2
was
days? Is
for
it?
they only get 2 days to call a lawyer.
Mm.
If they don't, they don't get a lawyer. I was like, "Interesting."
And before this, we get them going to the jail to speak to the leader of the gang, selling Victor the drugs.
Can we
Uh,
talk about the cops just walking around in Gen Pop? Like,
yeah, I'm like, that's awfully brazen.
but I will say this, Brent Jennings, who played Abdul Elijah,
Hmm.
so charismatic,
Yeah,
such a great performance. So
yeah.
fuck I was like, "I want a movie about him. I want Abdul's movie. I wanna know I wanna see the story that brought him to the head of, like, this spiritual gang. I want that."
I also like how Danko's like, they don't seem to respect us, even though we're police officers.
Aw, buddy. Then
Then they visit Kat Manziti. They know she's lying and
mhm.
stake out her business after talking to her. Redzik goes to get them food, and I like the guy with the baseball bat tries
Yeah,
to get Arnold to pay him for the parking space, quote
yeah.
unquote, that he lives there and this is his spot, and he has to pay him or he's gonna beat him up with his baseball bat. Tank goes, "Do you know Miranda?" Guy's like, "What? No." So he punches him out. Ridzik just steps over him when he comes back. Like,
Yeah,
what's
he's
with the unconscious dude?
and then all
um,
Danko says is, "He lives here.
yeah, he lives here. It's okay, he lives here.
He lives here. It's fine."
They follow her to the underground parking lot where they meet the gang who set up a meeting with Danko and Victor.
Mhm.
I love this part too, the scene with them telling
Yeah.
them to relinquish the weapons, and Ridzik is like, Chicago police officer never gives up his weapon, and then they're all like cocking their shotguns and stuff. Just flips
He's
his
like,
gun
"Oh,
over.
here you go."
Here you go. Victor and Danko meet where Victor tries to buy off Danko, which is a no go. So they're like, he's like, I guess I gotta kill you. Plus, the whole tirade of Jim Belushi going off on Arnold or Danko about the do's and don'ts of being partners, like when they get back in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty good too. Back to Wikipedia. Danko and Ridzik go to the hospital to interrogate one of Ross's men, who was injured during the earlier ambush, but he is killed by another of Ross's accomplices disguised as a nurse. And of course, Ridzik checks out that nurse, who is man dressed as a woman. He's like, "Ooh, look at that! I should have been a doctor." And then he gets all mad. Well, not mad, but he's like, "Oh, it's a man. Of course it is."
Just my luck.
Yeah. Do you think they shot that guy enough?
I don't know. I don't know. I think he could have used another 10, 15 bullets.
Yeah, he probably had another clip. He could have used that one.
Yeah,
Like in the
yeah.
80s, you just didn't shoot a man once. You emptied a clip into him to make sure he was dead.
Yes, but then he was shot with 2 separate guns, if I'm not mistaken. And they just like kept shooting at him. And I was like, you can wait for him to fall. Like, it's cool.
Yeah, I think he was dead after the second one.
Yeah, his body was falling. They were still shooting. I was like, he's done.
Yeah.
But he looked great in that nurse's uniform.
Yeah, he did. He filled it out pretty good.
Yeah, he did.
I also love that Ridzik had to get a tetanus shot and the whole thing with the nurse not being gentle.
Yeah.
Danko subsequently shoots and kills the assassin. Oops, I got ahead of myself. Okay, so the assassin, is dead. Ridzik superiors confiscate Danko's sidearm, as he is not licensed to carry one in the United States, and order him to cease the investigation. However, Ridzik, who still wants to avenge his partner's murder, secretly gives Danko a spare gun. They really should have played into this a bit more. Like, just
if you're gonna kill off the partners, make it feel like it's a revenge murder, like a revenge movie. Because this didn't feel like it felt like that was just extra.
Yeah, because Ridzik just gave him the gun that to progress the movie, but not to avenge his partner. Just a little dialogue here or there, a sad look or two.
Something.
Then Kat is then murdered by Rasta. Victor, yeah, I totally forgot this part. I was sad.
I was sad too. See, I cared about her death.
Yeah.
I cared about her death. I cared about Gallagher's death. Everybody else, I gave 0 fucks.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a little sad about that. But credit where credit is due. If you watch 2, 3, 4 buddy cop movies before this one, you'd have bet dollars to donuts she end up sleeping or dating with one of the main characters.
I really thought her and Danko were gonna have a thing.
Yeah, so this was a bit of a curveball.
Yeah. And all of a sudden she was dead, and it was like, oh. And they weren't even the ones that they just heard about it like on the news or something.
Yeah, it wasn't because of them.
Yeah. It was just she's dead now, and you're just like, what the fuck?
Returning to his hotel, Danko is attacked by Ross's men. What I believe happens here is Victor convinces some of the gang members to go with him to get the money for themselves, and then he double crosses them to lure Danko out.
Yes, he sends them to a different room.
Yeah.
Than the one that Danko was in.
Because they're like, Victor betrayed us or something like that.
Something like that. So they walk in and they find the hooker in bed. And that's literally what her character is named, Hooker. Who, by the way, also still looks smoking hot to this day. Saw some pictures. And she's in her 60s too. And I'm like, God damn. But anyways, on the TV, she's watching Judge Jennifer Lewis.
Yes.
I was like, that's Jennifer Lewis.
I didn't know that. I knew that when I was doing the trivia thing.
Yeah, I saw Jennifer Lewis and I was like, what? It's like People's Court, but with Judge Jennifer Lewis. I was like, I kind of want to watch that show.
Yeah, and they're like, where is he? And they're like, he's in the shower. And then they all empty their clips into him.
And then that's when the very large naked man falls through the door.
Yeah.
Dead. And the hooker is very, very scared. And then they hear, I think, a gunshot across the hall. So they turn to leave. She gets out of bed and hides behind a dresser. And I'm like, actually, that's kind of smart.
Yeah.
And gets her gun out of her purse.
And then before this happened, because Ridzik gave Danko a Dirty Harry gun, a 45 caliber Desert Eagle, whatever the hell it was. And I know it's not realistic, and people say that now, and they're doing it a bit more. But I love when you have a big gun and you shoot someone and they go flying backward. It just looks cool. And then actually the hooker saves
Yes.
Danko and
The
shoots one
hooker
of the bad
shoots one
guys.
of the gang members.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's nice. Look at you helping out.
While Danko fights them off, Rasta sneaks into his room and steals the key. Ridzik takes Danko to visit locksmith, where they match the key to ones produced for lockers at a bus terminal. This is his sister's ex-husband, because they're
Yes.
arguing about alimony payments while Danko is flipping through the locks and keys. Now this isn't the first time a locker at a bus terminal has been used in this type of movie. What I don't get is that it would not be that hard to either pick the lock, bust the lock. I get it's in a public place,
Yeah.
but pick a time that's not so busy or a time where it's super busy. Create a distraction. This could easily be overlooked, but
Yeah, but what's the fun in that?
people rob banks. But if the money's in a locker at the bus terminal, what, that's fucking Fort Knox now? Like, I know there's no fun in it, but I'm like, it's stupid.
No, I agree. And it should have been more complicated. They should have been keeping the money somewhere more complicated.
Yeah.
But it all had to hinge on one key that was very easily identifiable. Because when I saw that key, I was like, oh, that's one of those public lockers. So gyms have them, bus stations have them, train stations have them. So I was like, oh, it's one of those lockers.
Yeah.
So I can understand why.
Like maybe Victor just forgot the number.
Yeah.
It's
But
like,
it just it seems a little extra,
yeah.
especially for people we don't care about.
Yeah.
Like
Like that,
yeah.
that gang got a Brinks truck, guard uniforms, just to get Victor out of the police's hands and kill the cop
Correct.
to do it.
Yep.
So why couldn't you just go to the fucking bus terminal, bust this money out? Oh well.
Dude.
Rasta uses the key to retrieve his drug shipment money and steals an empty bus just as Danko and Ridzik arrive, chasing him in another bus. Danko and Ridzik cause Rasta to crash into an oncoming train. Okay, so they have that standoff where they got Victor and Danko points a gun. Ridzik comes out, points his gun at him. They say he killed a Chicago cop. We get him first. Again, if you would have just put a few more minutes into this scene, cool as it is, would have been way cooler.
It would have been more impactful.
Yeah.
Yeah. But other than that, it was just it felt like two random guys pointing guns at one random guy.
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay.
And for buddy cop movies, serious cop movies, buddy ones, you get cop chases. You do that. So
yeah,
this was absolutely a nice change with the buses. And don't get me wrong, there are some really great chases, inventive ones over the top ones, intense ones when it comes to cars. If done well, always welcome. But this was a nice change of pace for the color by numbers of cop movie big car chases. Yeah. And it was a great chase full of crashes and it's funny. Like Ridzik is like, where are all the cops? There's never a cop in the city when you need one. You make a U-turn, they're all over you, but you need one. Yeah. As Rasta crawls out of the wreckage, Danko kills him. Yes. First, they get out together and they're screaming because they're playing chicken with the buses.
Yes.
And Ridzik thinks they're going to swerve, but it turned.
Danko's like, no.
He's not swerving. So he swerves for him, crashes his bus. Victor stops and gets hit by a train. They're yelling at each other. There's Danko at squaring off, and there goes, Victor squaring off. Danko goes down and just, again, unloads his clip into him. Later, Ridzik takes Danko to the airport. As a token of their new friendship, they exchange wristwatches. Ridzik gives him his Rolex and then sees that Danko gave him a $20 East German watch.
Yeah.
And Danko tells Ridzik they are cops, not politicians, so it is okay for them to like each other. The scene closes with Danko saluting while in Red Square in Moscow. And that is our movie. Pretty much.
Yep, pretty much.
What is your score?
My score is Stream It. And the reason for that is mainly for the nostalgia, but also for people who love buddy cop movies with the added, kind of one-liner shtick humor with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, if you're a Schwarzenegger fan, you're gonna love this movie regardless. Like, you're gonna really like it because it is ultimate Arnold. This is before he started taking any real acting classes. Um, I mean, do I think there was a lot of scenes that were kind of superfluous? Yes. Do I think that I didn't connect with any of the characters? Not even a little bit. Except for Kat Manzetti, I really felt for her. And the hooker, weirdly enough, I was super proud of her for like getting up and helping out. But for the most part, they didn't give us enough to care about the characters. So I think if you like kind of a mindless 80s action movie, stream it. It's a decent time. But if you're looking for a really, really good action movie, this is not that. So I think if you go in, stream it, don't pay any money for this. Although it is for sale on Prime for $7.99.
Ooh.
If you want to buy it, it's available there for $7.99. And if you like it, I won't be mad at you for buying it at that price. I'll question your sanity a little bit, but overall, I mean, it's a kind of cheesy 80s action movie, but just not cheesy enough to be a classic, I think. Your thoughts?
All right. Well, before that, because I don't think this is, I'm pretty sure this didn't go on to our trivia. Gina Gershwin tried out for or auditioned for a much smaller role. And I'm like,
Mm.
smaller role. So it's either the hooker or the girl in the police station.
Or the diner. The diner.
Or the diner, yeah. But Walter Hill actually saw that she was saw something that she's a good actress and
Yeah.
actually got her to audition for the other role instead, and then she got the role. She got the actual Catman City role.
She was super great.
Yeah, you could tell she could act.
Yeah.
Like she was, yeah. All right. My score. This was so 80s. And it's kind of a lot as what's lacking in movies today. And it's not a hard recipe to follow. Like it's not colorful language, some humor, one-liners, car chases or car adjacent, shooting, dying. Yeah, it's just, but yeah, everything that Anna said is the reason I love this movie. Because it is cheesy. It is totally 80s. The story, the only complaint I have is absolutely the partners and the revenge aspect of this movie. It could have been that much better. But yeah, I like the gang members. I like the one-liners. I like the humor. And like you said, if you're an Arnold, I'm one of those guys. I love Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I love James Belushi, and I love the principal. So obviously, I love this movie. I say, weirdly enough, buy it at a discount, and if it's discounted,
like it's
at
$7.99.
yeah, $7.99. I would buy that. I would watch this again. Absolutely, it was fun, very nostalgic.
The nostalgia was there, which is why I gave it a stream it because I'm like, God, this is so fucking 80s.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, it's fun to watch anything from the 80s, but at the same time, I'm like, with a few tweaks to like the script,
It could have been a lot better.
this could have been so much better.
And we'll get to that too in a minute.
Yeah.
Because there was some tooling. But yeah, no, I found it fun. It was a very fun watch. It was an 80s movie. It was an 80s action movie. I put it up there with, it's not as good as Die Hard, obviously. It's not as good as Lethal Weapon.
Oh God.
But it's a good action movie.
See, for me, I didn't hate it. Like it didn't cause me to roll my eyes. You know, I didn't want to stop watching it, but I also wasn't that into it. And it's mostly because I didn't care about like 90% of the characters. The
So
ones that I did, I'm like, I want movies about like the gang leader. Tell me more about Kat Manzetti. Does the hooker get out of hooking? What happens to her? These are the people I cared about because they gave me great performances, even for such small roles. Meanwhile, Schwarzenegger looks like somebody's got a stick up his ass, and they're the one directing him with the stick.
Yeah.
But that
So this is not
Schwarzenegger-
going in your rotation?
No, not even a little bit. No.
See, and now that you said for $7.99, I might go and buy it for $7.99.
Honestly, if
it's
you're
on sale.
I can see who would like this. I
What's
am
that
not that
supposed to mean?
person. Middle-aged white guys who think they could fight like Arnold Schwarzenegger, or they're just as funny as Jim Belushi. They're going to do this. And I mean, if you like the principle, Jim Belushi gives the exact same performance in this movie. So
Oh,
you're
yeah.
probably going to like this one.
Yeah. That's one of the thing about the 80s too. When you got a Rambo or
Oh,
any type, if it worked,
they just kept going.
you just keep going with it.
Oh, yeah.
Like Bruce Willis played the same character. He did branch out obviously into different roles, but he was Bruce Willis in a lot of his movies.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah. But that's why a lot of people like it, because they know they're getting Bruce Willis. I knew I was going to get Jim Belushi and Arnold Schwarzenegger in this movie. Yeah.
And you got them.
And we got them. All right.
Yeah.
So,
I would have really liked it if they became a little more like it was the relationships. I'm like,
if they would have done that, I would have said this is an 80s classic. I still think it's
Yeah.
an 80s classic, but this is like this would have been a buy it. This is a
Yeah.
great film. Yeah. But it did, they dropped the ball a little on that part of it. But it's still, I still thought it was fun. So a stream it and a buy it at a discount. All right. So let's go over trivia for Red Heat.
Hit me. I'm ready.
Dun, dun, dun.
Let me
All right, you can start.
For the Joliet prison scene, 200 real inmates were used as extras. Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah, those big muscular dudes, those were prisoners. 200 of them.
Jesus Christ.
Maybe that's why all the naked women were huddled together at that fountain. Like they just, for your safety, just be somewhere where we can see you. Unless they were prisoners too. I don't know.
No. That was the actual. They actually shot at a prison.
At the prison, yeah.
But
And they're like, why pay extras? We have inmates. Look, they're all jacked. They all look at them. They look like killers because they are fucking killers.
when did it stop being a prison? Because now it's a tour thing. You can do a tour, a self-guided tour, a 90-minute self-guided tour of Joliet Prison. I am so curious about this.
Yeah. When I saw that, I'm like, seriously? You shot at the prison and you used the inmates.
Which feels very unsafe.
Yeah.
I mean,
because a lot of those guys didn't look they were in there for just some traffic violations.
Yeah, those were not white-collar criminals.
No.
Like,
Those
none of
were
them were
big-
heading up a Ponzi scheme.
No, they were big, scary dudes. I thought that was awesome.
Oh my God.
All right. Arnold Schwarzenegger spent 3 months learning to speak Russian. Jim Belushi spent 2 weeks working at a Chicago police district headquarters. So Arnold put in 3 months. Jim Belushi put in 2 weeks.
God bless. And if that's Arnold after 3 months of dedication.
Hey, I thought he would. I thought he passed as Russian.
He did decently, but you could tell he was working to speak it. You could tell it was not coming naturally.
Maybe the script dialogue was much bigger on his part, and after they heard him talk, they're like, let's bring a couple. Let's cross out a few lines.
Maybe that's why we didn't get more conversations with Yuri.
Yeah, could have been.
Walter Hill, thinking Arnold Schwarzenegger was too muscular, asked him to lose 10 pounds for his role, and Jim Belushi to gain 10 pounds.
Yes, because if you think about it, he did look a little, probably more realistic. He did look a little heavier. Like he wasn't cut. He was kind of a little overweight. He looked.
Yeah. He looked still very sturdy, very muscular, but he wasn't.
Yeah.
Like what he normally is for a movie.
The film crew applied for a permit to film in the Red Square, but the application was denied. So the crew had to sneak film the Red Square scenes. They dressed Arnold Schwarzenegger up in the uniform and filmed him as though making an amateur home movie with just a couple of crew people present.
Damn.
So
look
they
at
went
them
to Russia
sneaking
and
in.
snuck around Red Square filming shit.
I
Can you
feel
imagine
like
getting caught after you were denied the permit? Ugh.
I feel like they took a lot of risks to make this movie.
Yeah. It's kind of cool.
It is
Kind of.
kinda cool, but it also feels exceptionally stupid.
Oh, yeah, it's totally stupid.
Yeah.
And how did you're lucky no one said, "Hey, that looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger over there."
Right? Like, why would you do that in the Soviet Union?
Oh, but they probably didn't get a lot of his movies over there, so
I
I'm
mean,
sure underground stuff they got, but
yeah, but
but
still crazy. Okay, so Walter Hill wanted to use buses rather than cars in the climactic action scene because it would be more interesting. Also, I thought it was very appropriate for Arnold. He doesn't fit well in cars. That's fantastic. He's too big to sit in cars. Let's put him in a
yeah.
bus.
Ivan Danko used a pistol called the Bodburn 9.2 millimeter. The Bodburn does not actually exist. Tim LaFrance, the armorer for the movie, made 3 props using modified 357 Magnum IMI Desert Eagle MK. Is he dubbed the Hollywood Eagle. It used grips from the P-38 and elongated barrel and modified gas porting to allow it to cycle and fire 357 Magnum blanks. LaFrance even etched spurious com block hallmarks on them to make it look like they were actually made in Soviet Russia.
That's dedication.
Yeah, that's cool when you have someone that dedicated that they put those little.
Yeah.
Even I didn't notice it, but
No.
just in case that guy went through that much effort to make sure that it looked like it was the real thing.
Well, I mean, if at any point they were like, "We would like a close up of a bullet," he was
Yeah.
ready.
I made this part white just because it was so long.
I appreciate you. Um, Red Heat was partially recut to be a shorter movie. Amongst the scenes which were deleted, there was an entire part of the plot cut, which included Victor's wife, Kat, trying to help Art and other cops to set up a trap for Victor in a park during the baseball game while he is on some deal. But it turns out that Victor was lying to Kat, and cops are left empty handed. Removal of these scenes and some others is the reason why, right after the hotel shootout between Danko and Cleanheads, last act of the movie seems too fast paced and not really that well explained. Novelization of the movie, however, includes all deleted scenes. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if there was maybe a little more story there.
Well,
Maybe not.
if
But
we saw that scene, it would make more sense why Kat died.
yes, because she tried to set him up.
Because she tried to set him up. Instead,
Yeah.
she's like, I can't be a part of this. I'm just going to give you a tip and then I'm going to leave.
So it
And then
kind
all
of
of a
makes
sudden
it
she's
think like
dead.
she tried to leave and then he killed her.
I guess.
I guess this made more sense.
Yeah.
So, oh well. Editors. Walter Hill conceived of the idea for the film because he and Arnold Schwarzenegger had long wanted to work together. This is his quote: "I didn't want to do a sci-fi, and it's tough to use Arnold credibly in an American context with his accent. I thought it would be interesting if he could play a Russian cop in the U.S. I wanted to do a traditional John Wayne, Clint Eastwood, larger-than-life movie. You then ask the question, will the American audience accept an unapologetic Soviet hero, someone who will not defect at the end of the movie?"
Ooh, yeah. Actually, it surprised me that he didn't defect.
Yeah.
I was like, I could have sworn he stays.
I think it's cooler that he left. He went back home. It
Oh,
just
yeah.
supported his character.
When talks of a possible sequel were talked about, the sequel would have seen Danko reuniting with Ridzik and Ridzik flying over to Moscow and going up against a new criminal. That would have been interesting, but
Yeah.
they never would have gotten the permit for that.
Nope. They would have had to film. Yeah, but you could have filmed somewhere else.
Well,
That
yeah,
looked Russian.
but I think at that point the Soviet Union was so big that everywhere that they filmed that looks Russian was actually part of the Soviet Union at that point.
And that was it. All
Dang,
right.
guys.
So yeah, that is Red Heat. Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I think that's it for Red Heat. I was trying to think if there was anything else I was gonna watch this week other than Abigail. I'm hoping to make it to the movie theater this weekend to watch it.
My kids were like, there's a new movie out. Can we go see it? I'm like, well, what's the movie? Oh, it's a horror movie. I'm like, what's it rated? I don't know. What's it called? Oh, I can't remember. What's it about? It's a horror movie. I'm like, oh my God. Turns out it was Abigail. And I'm like, oh, that movie looks so awesome. I want to see it, but it's 18, so no.
Yeah, no. I would not want kids to see it, but um there are a lot of actors in it that I fucking love.
Oh, that movie looks Abigail
And
looks
the
great.
plot looks amazing. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I am going to because I haven't been to a movie theater in years. And I've been promising myself I would go and I haven't. But I'm like, for this movie, I would. Maybe I'll take my niece with me if she feels like watching a horror movie this weekend. But I'm like, fuck yeah. Let's watch a bunch of people locked in a house with a
With a vampire.
with a teenage vampire
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
preteen vampire. Like,
No, it looks
yes.
awesome. I do want to see it.
Yeah.
My 6-year-old saw the preview for Despicable Me 4.
Oh,
So
jeez.
I'll be going to see that when it comes out.
They're making a fourth?
Yeah, well, they made it. It's coming out in a month or so.
Shit.
And to be fair, I love the Minions and the Despicable Me. They made a lot of them, and they're still pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, I watched, I think, the first 2, and then I just kinda petered off.
Did you watch any of the Minion ones? They made 2 Minions, Rise
I
of
think I
Gru
watched
and
the
something
first
else.
Minion one. My nephew used to be really into Minions. And then he kinda grew out of Minions. And then he was very into Marvel. So, I mean, when you don't have to watch the Minions, it's not the first thing on your mind when you're like, "I'm gonna watch something." Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right, Minions.
Oh, yeah, when she was out of Peppa Pig there, I'm
Oh,
like, "Good." Actually, to be fair, I didn't mind Peppa Pig.
well, there's a lot of stuff that, like, kids like, my niece was, like, hardcore into Dora,
Oh,
which
Dora.
was a little
Yeah.
annoying because 'cause we're Portuguese, but she was speaking Spanish, and we were like, "Girl," like, Spanish is close, but it's not Portuguese. So we were harassing my brother, and we're like, "Teach your daughter some Portuguese. She's speaking more Spanish than Portuguese. Like, do something about this." He did not, but now she's working with Duolingo, and she's doing okay, but Duolingo is Brazilian Portuguese, and so we're having to correct her and be like, "We don't say it like that in Portugal. It's okay."
No, well, Dune 2 is out, digitally.
Mm,
I'm still debating on whether or not to buy it for $20 or $25, and I
I'm
kinda
not
wanted the 4K disc, but, I don't know. I'll
I'm not
probably
that
just
big of a Dune fan to pay for it.
oh, it was awesome.
Yeah, that's not really my thing. I
And
am
Rebel
trying.
Moon 2 is coming out this week. This Friday, I think. The second one. The first one, not so great. It was okay. It
No?
looked beautiful. The Zack Snyder one.
Mm,
But he made a movie that's like way long and super R-rated
yeah.
sci-fi. And then he did this version to be PG for Netflix. They said they will let you do the movie you want to do, give us a clean version, and then this summer we'll release both R-rated versions. So it's the first. I don't know if you've seen Rebel Moon.
I haven't yet.
Looks amazing. Story is off just because I think it's cut so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
but yeah.
yeah, it's been there's a lot because now AMC Plus is doing I think it's like halfway to Halloween.
Oh yeah, the halfway to Halloween
So
thing. Yeah.
there's so many horror movies I want to watch.
Did you watch a thing on Late Night with the Devil?
No.
Mm, that's coming to AMC Plus. That it looks beyond ridiculously good.
I'm just very, very excited for like I'm working my way through a cheesy reality show rewatch right now. But once I'm done that, I think I'm just gonna go on a horror movie buffet and basically just watch it all. And also finally finish the latest season of Slasher because I started it. I'm now like I think 3/4 of the way through the second episode, and I'm just like, okay, yeah, Jack the Ripper in Toronto sounds great. Serial killer going after really shitty people sounds great. Just I'm having a hard time getting into it. But the season before this one, about a family kind of reunion / will reading, so good. Couldn't stop watching that one.
I did watch Fallout on Prime.
Oh yeah.
I
How was
watched
that?
the entire season in 2 days, all 8 episodes. It was amazing.
Really?
Absolutely amazing. Yeah. It's a post-apocalyptic. It's very humorous, ridiculously humorous. It's gross. It's very there's zombies, there's cannibals, there's monsters. It's pretty good.
That sounds good. I'll put that on my list. I also have to watch the last season of British Ghosts, the British version of Ghosts. I don't like the American version. I like the British version. I'm holding off though because that show is so fucking good, and it makes me sad that it's over. So I'm holding off. I've done the same thing with Orphan Black, but now they have a new Orphan Black coming out.
Oh, spinoff?
Yeah. So I'm like, well, crap. Because I do this sometimes when I know it's the final season. I'm like, I don't want to watch it because then it never ends in my head.
Then it's over.
Then if I watch it, it's over, and I'm like, fine. Fine. Yeah. Makes me sad. But anyways, I'm going to catch up on all this shit before the summer hits.
Yeah, I know. I got so many to watch. It's ridiculous. All right. Well, thank you for going back to 1988 and taking a look at Red Heat.
Mm-hmm.
We had buy it at a discount and just to stream it. You probably can guess who. All right. Until the next movie we remember liking.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.